She was kept in the 90s by somebody in Alaska, and unfortunately that person passed away in 1996. Thinking about getting a sulcata? Think again. Ooh, low. Okay, so we've got a young female African leopard tortoise here. Similar to last week's video, these people needed to find a home for this animal. Now, leopard tortoises are the world's 4th largest tortoise species. So they are a species that often finds itself in need of a new home because of how big they get and that they grow fairly quickly compared to some other tortoise species. This animal is very small still. She's got a long way to go. I'm not sure what's going on here. This is definitely improper growth, where you can see the carapace scutes have kind of like sandwiched together here or clustered. These are the original scutes right here. See these center areas of what this animal looked like as a hatchling. It looks as though it may have started out bad and then they corrected it later on, because you can see things kind of smooth out here and grow a little bit better, but we'll never be able to fix what happened here. This is just a matter of keeping this animal comfortable. I can't say whether or not it could be stunted or not. We're gonna have to wait and see. We have to see how this animal walks, what its gait is like. These creatures are definitely resilient. But you know, it's always tough with something like this because you don't know what's going on internally. You can do things like blood work and take x-rays like we've done many times with animals here. And more often than not, they actually come out pretty well. And it ends up just being cosmetic. The rest of the animal is in check. The nails are only very slightly curling in certain areas. Definitely nothing to really be worried about. The beak is pretty good too. Just slightly starting to look like it could overgrow, but we can correct that without having to do anything, just by feeding the right items and giving her things like Cuttlebone. Cuttlebone is a great way to get calcium into the animals, which is of course important for tortoises, without forcing it on them. A lot of people will lean on the outdated information out there that says you should constantly blast these animals with calcium powder. You shouldn't do that. You should do something like throwing out Cuttlebone, which you can find for birds, same thing for tortoises, and they'll nibble on it as they feel the need to, and that helps keep their beak in check. So that's kind of the thing that we would do for a tortoise like this. The good news about her, which contrasts an animal like Bubbles, if you guys recall from a while back, we took in a leopard tortoise named Bubbles that was completely flat. Her shell was soft, it never hardened because of how badly she was neglected. She unfortunately did pass away despite our efforts in trying to save her. The problem that would have happened with Bubbles, because she was so flat, had she lived, she would have never been able to properly carry eggs. With a tortoise like this that does have a significant arc or dome to its shell, she can safely carry eggs in there and pass them. So that's good news for her, not something we would really have to worry about down the line. But you're not the only new animal that was surrendered to Garden State Tortoise today, so I'm going to set her down, let her relax for a minute before we get her set up, and let's take a look at the other animal we got. Alrighty. This animal is in a little bit more classic packaging for safely shipping reptiles. And a lot of people, you know, don't understand how this is done. It is actually very safe for them. They can breathe through things like pillowcases, of course. And when they're shipped in these styrofoam lined boxes, they're not only temperature controlled, but they have a lot of cushioning. So this person sent us this animal's vet records. That is huge. Love when people can do this. We've got a lot of different things on here, and this goes back to 2023. Yeah, 2023 and 2024 vet records. This turtle has been through a lot. Let's take a good look at her here. This is, what was the turtle's name again? Mishi. Mishi is this turtle's name. All right, let's see what we have here. Hello. This is Mishi. She's an adult female ornate box turtle, Terrapene ornata. This is the same species that we took in from the turtle rescue of the Hamptons earlier this fall. Those animals were part of a confiscation over at JFK International Airport. So our hope is that eventually after quarantine, so long as Mishi does well, she'll go in with those other ornates and be able to live with them. Beautiful species of American box turtle. Not the ones that are found over here in the eastern portions of our country, but they are the most well-known box turtle that comes from the western portion, them and the desert box turtle. Now, Mishi's got some old discoloration here that'll eventually come off once she's outdoors. But they really have a beautiful black shell with striking yellow lines and bars on it. And that's that in company with the plastron that looks almost the same. That's how you know you're looking at an ornate box turtle, to sum it up quickly for you guys. Mishi has a very interesting long story. She was kept in the 90s by somebody in Alaska, and unfortunately that person passed away in 1996, and then that person's mother took over the care of this turtle. She sadly passed away in 2022, and now the person that asked us to take her on now is unfortunately ill, and they don't feel that they can take care of her anymore, so they wanted to get her into a better situation. She's really strong, she's really healthy. I can tell that they've been trimming her nails. Her beak is overgrown and a little misshapen, but we're not talking Rockalina here, so I do think that if we can do what we did for Rockalina, we could definitely do similar for Mishi. So I'm not worried about this turtle at all. An amazing story, and how they just keep making sure that the turtle would be in the right care. They kept passing her on down the line, and now here she is with GST. And it gives you guys an idea just how long these animals live. You have to have a plan in place for them, because the chances of them outliving you are really, really high. All right, so I got to get Mishi set up into a temporary quarantine area, because like I said, we eventually do want her to live with the other ornate box turtles. That would be natural for her. But Mishi and that little leopard tortoise we just took in are not the only new animals that we just got. Just yesterday, we got a really awesome male leopard tortoise, and someone drove all the way from Kentucky to New Jersey to deliver him.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thanks for making the drive, man.
Well, listen, I appreciate you willing to take him.
Yeah, of course.
He near and dear to myself and my boys and my wife.
Did you get him as a baby?
Yes.
You guys did a fantastic job raising him.
The boys.
Holy cow.
The boys gave him to my wife for her birthday, and he was that big. And then
It's so cool.
no, he's not.
Big male. I could tell in the video you sent me when he's cruising around like that. I was
Yeah.
like, oh man, that is fantastic. He is so healthy. So.
Well, I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
hey, thanks, man. Drive
care.
safe,
Yeah,
and
thank
please
you.
stay in touch.
Yeah, I will.
All right.
Thank you.
Kevin is an unbelievably awesome big male leopard tortoise, and tomorrow I'm going to introduce you to him, because we're going to be getting all the leopards outside because it's going to be really warm. Yesterday I was outside doing a ton of pen prep. So these 3 pens are newer pens, but made out of old wood. Never throw any pressure treated wood away, because not only is it safe to make pens out of, but it lasts. So that's what we've done here. We put together these 3 pens. These are for box turtles. We got Mexican box turtles, Yucatan box turtles, and Florida box turtles in this area. So what I've done is I've gone out to get plants, because you can see they're pretty bare right now. They need a lot of plant life. Box turtles need cover, but I picked plants that will feed them. So I've got raspberry and blueberry to start, and once I get those situated, I'll go out and get something else. But this is great. This is food items for them, and if you know anything about raspberry, the plant goes pretty nuts. So it's kind of a never-ending food source. But today, I've of course got more to do. So let me put her down and get out there and get to work. So, new box turtle pens. I put some plants in here, the plants that are gonna help feed them. And now what I'm doing is I'm using cement mixing tubs to install little water areas for them. It's a little bit more than a water dish, but it's not a major water area. And the reason I'm doing that is because, as I've said many times, box turtles have a deep relationship with water, and they absolutely need it in their lives. So these 3 types of box turtles, they would benefit from a small shallow pond, but they don't absolutely need it like something like a Gulf Coast or Coquitlam would. Instead, we're just giving them a nice water area that they can soak in, of course drink in, and the cement mixing tubs are great for that, because they're not deep, they're sloped, and you can add things to them so that the turtles can get in and out. But an adult box turtle, no danger of drowning in one of these. They might look dirty to you guys, but it's just because I've been mixing dirt and sand in them. Not bad. So I'm going to fill in the areas here because the point is to recess it into the ground so that the turtles can go down into it in the wild. Most of the areas that they would find water are going to be in low areas. So that's what we're doing. We're always just trying to recreate nature to some extent. Can't completely replicate it, but you absolutely can get close. Standing over one of the Western Hermann's tortoise greenhouses, and this is a Rose of Sharon. This is an item that constantly feeds the animals because they can eat both the leaves and the flowers, which are both awesome for them. But the purpose of a greenhouse is for the sun to pass through the polycarbonate panels to warm up the animals inside, and that's how they thermoregulate on these less than favorable days in the spring and the fall. So I'm not going to remove this plant, that would be silly. Instead, I'm just going to trim it back so that the sun can pass right through and hit this greenhouse, because once this thing gets full and grows in with leaves and flowers, that won't be able to happen. This thing drives me nuts every year. It's a young holly tree, which will get huge, and it's always growing in between these pens, and it comes right up behind this greenhouse. And of course, just like the Rose of Sharon, it will shade it. This is not a food source for them whatsoever. But unfortunately, I would have to uproot everything here to get the root system out. So I just got to play games with it every spring. I got to cut it back. Ow! Yuck. That white stuff is urates. And that's what tortoises pass along with their fecal matter, and they love to do it in their water dishes. But that's not the reason why I'm swapping this out. This water dish is getting old and corroded. It is no longer safe to use. So I'm switching to plastic ones, nice and fresh. Tortoises should have access to water because, contrary to popular belief, they do not only get the water they need from the foods they eat. They should have a shallow water source that they can drink and soak in. And outside, it's obviously easier to do that because you get the rain that washes things out, but you got to clean stuff too. And you can see they love to make a mess in it. That was done in one day. Rosemary. This stuff's awesome. It's safe for tortoises, but they don't really like it, so they won't mow it down. I'm gonna need a lot more of this. What we're trying to do here, this is one of our Western Hermann's pens, the brand new one, and we're trying to recreate that Mediterranean landscape that the animals naturally occur on in the wild. Casey and I got to experience that firsthand, both the habitat, the plant life, and the tortoises themselves when we were in France and Corsica just 1 year ago. So I'm going to just kind of have fun, carefully place these. I've done a ton of work on this pen now. I've got the Mediterranean heather, which is another good plant for them. It happens to be my all-time favorite. And that's all situated in what I've designated as their nesting area. Hopefully they use it. They usually do. And there's all kinds of uneven terrain, gravel, sand, edibles, natural weeds, and other things coming up out of the ground that they can eat. That's how you do a tortoise pen. You want to make it interesting, visual barriers, all kinds of areas to explore, and of course, different types of terrain. Thinking about getting a sulcata? Think again. Days like today are a sign of hope. That's because even though it's gloomy, it's nice and warm, so it is a perfect day to move some of our larger species of tortoise, like the world's third largest tortoise species, the African spur thigh or sulcata tortoise. All right, lady. Come in for a hug. There it is. There you go, Bitsy. So Bitsy is an awesome example of a sulcata tortoise. She's a female too. You don't often see females quite this big. Of course they get this big, and there's even some bigger ones, but usually it's the males that we see this size and even bigger than this. These are huge animals. They're the largest mainland species of tortoise in the world. Because think about it, Aldabras and Galapagos, which are the two biggest, come from the islands. So here's a mainland animal that is the largest of all the turtles and tortoises. So Bitsy is gonna have her usual run with her greenhouse. She's gonna share this enclosure with the leopard tortoises, so let's go get that. some of you might recognize her. This is Tembo. She's one of our big female leopard tortoises, and leopard tortoises are the world's 4th largest tortoise species. Now, a lot of people will say that isn't it the mountain tortoises, the Burmese black and brown mountain tortoises, which are the genus Minoria, aren't they the 4th largest? Well, they get huge too, but on average, it is in fact the African leopard tortoise that gets bigger. Tembo, very good size, heavy female, but she's far from the largest. Males, like this guy right here, like many tortoise species, are smaller than the females, but look at that, you're still looking at a very large animal. So, Tembo and all the other leopards that I still have to pull out have spent the winter indoors in our reptile building for a few months to get through winter, and this is just the best. This is the best time of year because you just get to see them reunited with the natural environments that we've created for them. They get the sun, they get the rain, the heat, all that stuff that a tortoise really, really needs to thrive. There we go. Something really cool to point out. No 2 tortoises are exactly the same, and when it comes to leopard tortoises, as they age, a lot of them will actually wash out like this and become a bone color and lose a lot of those black rosettes. Tembo has held on to many of them, and the next leopard tortoise that I'm going to bring out, she has really held on to her dark pigment. She's pretty interesting looking. This is the tortoise I'm talking about. This is Savannah. Throughout her entire life, this leopard tortoise has been very dark colored, and when she was really little, she was almost entirely black. There's always variation, no matter what, but she really is an awesome looking leopard tortoise. She's got a lot of cool yellow markings on her head too, which is also something you don't see that often. We adopted Tembo and Savannah a year ago from a friend that unfortunately had a stroke. Went down to Georgia to pick them up, and they've been doing fantastic ever since. But we also have a new guy. And this is who I was talking about earlier. Meet Kevin. Now, Kevin has been the only tortoise where he was kept since he was born. He's 6 years old, so I don't have to worry about anything with him as far as his health goes, and I know our leopard tortoises are extremely healthy. So these guys are getting to go together right away, which is super helpful. Casey's about to fall over because he's going between your legs. You okay?
I'm good.
He has such an awesome personality. He will mow you down. He'll come right up to you for food. Really, really cool. Not unlike Savannah. Savannah really has an awesome personality, but similar to other animals, tortoises are different. Tembo, very shy. She doesn't really like any human interaction, but a tortoise like Savannah, a tortoise like Kevin, they are really awesome when it comes to that. So all of these tortoises have a very expansive, really interesting L-shaped pen that goes down to the end of our property, but they're about to get an even bigger, more expansive area, because right next door here is our miniature Zebu cattle, Maggie, who many of you have probably seen in videos already, and her brand new area on the other side of our property is going to be ready next week. So as soon as they finish the fencing and all the security measures, we're gonna get her moved across the property and into that area where you saw us drop a brand new barn for her. And then this whole wall is gonna come down, and it's gonna be an entire area for the leopard and sulcata tortoises. And what's cool too is right now with all the cow manure and the hay in there, that's gonna promote a lot of new growth. So as we wait for all this stuff to go on, I can let it sit like that, get a lot of new vegetation in there, break down the wall, and then these tortoises are gonna have a ton of natural graze, which they are already taking to seconds after putting them in this enclosure. They do have different habits, whereas the sulcata will burrow and the leopard tortoises will not. So they get to enjoy different aspects of the enclosure, their own little microclimates and nooks and crannies, but they definitely cohab together, and there's nothing better than seeing them outside.